Hello, and welcome back to US History and Elections. It is Wednesday, the 13th of November, and there has been a new Senate GOP leader elected. John Thune, the senior senator from South Dakota, will replace Mitch McConnell, who is retiring his position as Senate Majority Leader, which he has held for over 15 years now. And this has been something that's been covered a lot over the weekend. On social media, there's been a lot of talk about who is going to become the leader. However, the clear favourite from Hill insiders, Senate insiders, and people who are familiar with this sort of race pretty much knew that it was going to be John Cornyn or John Thune, and in the end, John Thune won the final ballot by 29 to 24 votes. Just to confirm, there 29-24 over Cornyn in the second round. Now, I just want to quickly go into the fact that a lot of people online, particularly the MAGA base, such as Elon Musk, came up publicly saying that Rick Scott, the recently re-elected senator from Florida, should become the Senate Majority Leader in an argument that he is the most supportive of Trump's agenda, of his policies, and will ensure that pretty much all of his cabinet picks will get through. Now, of course, in 2022, when Mitch McConnell was running for re-election within the Senate GOP conference, Rick Scott ran against him. Then he got 10 votes that time, and he got 13 votes this time. And the reason why this was never going to be close, or at least competitive for Rick Scott to win the Senate GOP leadership, is one of two reasons. One, the Senate is all about seniority. John Thune has been in the Senate for over 20 years now, and he has pretty much been the deputy to Mitch McConnell for the last 5 years. He knows and has experience of leading the Senate, and also he has actively campaigned. Same with John Cornyn, going out around the country this year, raising millions, tens of millions of dollars for GOP senators looking for their re-election bids, and therefore he has built up a good working relationship with over half the Senate Republican conference, and clearly that shows with getting 29 of the votes. And two, the fact that Rick Scott simply did not appeal to enough of the senators. And keyword with this is, even though a lot of the close allies of Trump coming out in support of Rick Scott, it is a secret ballot, always has been, and the senators always tried to keep a clear distance between the presidency, or the executive branch, should I say, and their internal structure, mainly because they just like that separation, and the Senate is a very historic, a very authentic, and a very traditional way of the government. Of course, in the House, they do public votes for the leaders of the Democrats and Republicans. They go around and proudly announce who they're going to vote for. In the Senate, it's completely different, and that is why John Thune, I always thought he was the favorite when Mitch McConnell first announced in spring of this year that he was going to be retiring following the 2024 elections. And John Thune, pretty much to not many surprises, is going to be the next Senate leader. Now, the important thing is people have been saying, oh, he's been very critical of Trump after the Hollywood Access tapes. Access Hollywood, takes came out in the 2016 presidential campaign. He called for Mike Pence to take Trump's place at the top of the ticket. Following the January 6th insurrection, he voted to acquit Trump, but he was extremely critical of him even after his acquittal, even after his vote to acquit the former president. This pretty much showed that people were saying, oh, is he truly a hardliner or Republican? But again, I would tone down those fears of, Republicans thinking that he's going to stop every single Trump nominee. I think there's still going to be many Trump nominees that are going to struggle to get a majority of Republicans to vote for them. That 50 vote threshold, is not going to be easy for a number of the Trump cabinet members, ones that we haven't even seen yet, and a couple of the ones that have already been confirmed by the president-elect. But I would not be that surprised if Thune is a lot more responsive and a lot more willing to work with the president this time around. Of course, in 2017 to 2021, there was talk that the Senate Republicans, particularly under Mitch McConnell, were very difficult to work with the president. However, I simply do not believe that such obstacles are going to exist in the same manner that they did. Even though John Thune is not as pro-Trump as Rick Scott, that is undeniable. I think he's still going to be very happy and work to quickly make sure that the Trump executive branch is going to get everything that they want, considering John Cornyn, and Rick Scott all quickly came out saying that they would be A-OK with the recess appointments. Now, the one thing that this does lead to is the problem of current senators in the new 53 to 47 Republican majority that will be appointed in January 2025. What if some of the incumbent senators leave to join Trump's cabinet? Of course, we know that Marco Rubio, his former 2016 Republican primary opponent, who was delivered some scathing remarks then, now a hardline Trump supporter and pretty much one of the new bases of the Republican Party, that being the South Floridian Latino, specifically Cuban vote. He is going to be the nominee for the Secretary of State. He will get through the Senate, no problem. There's going to be a number of Democrats that will vote for him. However, there's also talk that Cindy Hyde-Smith, the junior senator from Mississippi, is also going to be in Trump's cabinet. This one is not confirmed yet, and she is just one of the options. But again, say both of them do leave the Senate, that leaves a 51 Republican majority, and those 51 Republicans include Lisa Murkowski, include Susan Collins of Maine, two notorious moderates, and clearly the most moderate members of the Republican Senate membership at the moment. So it's going to be interesting if he does do that, because even if there are going to be special elections held later on in the year, those first 100 days are going to be a bit challenging, specifically when it comes to nominating and confirming some of Trump's cabinet positions, such as ones that stand out that really aren't going to, get much trouble. I don't think Lee Zeldin's going to have much trouble. Marco Rubio and Elise Stefanik, of course, in the House. However, the new Defense Secretary nomination, Pete Hegseth, have been pretty much a surprise one, because he has zero government experience. He is an Army veteran, served in Iraq and Afghanistan, but he has more famously been known as a Fox and Friends host for the past 8 years. And he has been a loyal Trump guy ever since 2016, ever since his first presidential primary run. But this person is certainly going to struggle to get those 50 votes in the Senate. And this is why, it does come down to looking, is John Thune going to be happy to support these or support the idea that a lot of these nominees can be done through recess appointments and recess confirmations? It's going to have to be seen, but I really don't think Thune is going to stand in the way of anything like that. Maybe some of the more radical policies, such as if he wants to try and enshrine tariffs, but the main problem there is going to be in the House, because the House margin is going to be about 220. And like I said, Elise Stefanik has accepted the UN nomination. She's going to get in pretty much fine. Mike Waltz from Florida, he is going to be the National Security Advisor, so that's another Republican they are losing. At the moment, I'd say the Republicans' House majority, is going to be 221 seats. They're going to lose Stefanik, that's 220, and they're probably going to lose Mike Waltz as well. So that's down to 219. The majority needed is 218. Of course, that's the majority needed. Of course, the Democrats aren't going to gain those seats, but there's going to be special elections and pretty much an even tighter margin for the House and the Senate if these nominees go through and they become part of Trump's new cabinet. And this is where we're looking into such a tight margin for the legislative branch. If Trump wants to get through a lot of his, let's not argue about it, radical reforms, such as he's talking about absolutely gutting the Department of Education. He's looking at completely overhauling the immigration and deportation programs. These are big policies and big proposals that are going to have to get some sort of congressional approval. And even though Republicans won both the Senate and the House, they won it by narrow margins, and margins that are getting cut even thinner. And of course, the Republicans, if they do lose Cindy Hyde-Smith and Rubio, they're going to be relying on those moderate voters. Even if J.D. Vance does step in to tie-break some of the votes, Susan Collins has re-election in 2 years. She's going to be thinking about every single vote, because every single voting record that she has is going to be used as a attack campaign by whoever the Democratic opponent is in Maine. And again, in the House, special elections could whittle down and actually increase the Democrats' leadership. So that Elise Stefanik special election, even though she's in a Trump plus 20 seat, and a very popular incumbent, you never know how the special elections go because they are wild. And in 2016, following in the first up until the 2018 midterms, um, pretty much every single special election swung plus 15 to the Democrats. And one of those was a big win for Conor Lamb in southwestern Pennsylvania in a safe Republican seat. So that's pretty much what's going on at the moment. I'm going to be doing some videos covering the presidential election analysis, once we have a better idea of the final popular vote, because Trump's popular vote has been shrinking because of California's lethargic manner of counting their millions of votes. So I'm going to do that video when we have a better idea of the actual final popular vote margin, and also hopefully we'll get the House completely finalized by the end of this week. So stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all again very soon.